snack am I? What snack am I? What snack am I? Chicken nuggets.
At exactly 3:30 in the morning, Chanti Dixon stepped into what she thought was her safe ride home. In less than 30 minutes, this 30-year-old mother of two would be dead. The man behind the wheel, Francisco Valadez, would be her killer. September 8, 2024, Indianapolis, Indiana. A routine Uber ride that ended in murder. Chanti trusted the wrong person with her life. Tonight, we reveal exactly what happened in those final moments, and how a $5 tip became evidence in a confession that shocked even seasoned detectives. This is her story.
An Uber driver is arrested for the murder of 30-year-old Chanti Dixon, who was missing this weekend. The driver confessed to killing Dixon. ITV's Kat Sandoval pieces together what happened.
Welcome to True Crime Anatomy. May your family stay safe wherever they are. Hit the subscribe and like button because we bring you the details the media never reported. Don't forget to also share. Indianapolis, Indiana, a city where 30-year-old Chanti Dixon was trying to build something better for her children. She had just moved to a new apartment on Earhart Street with her 13-year-old son Dashun and 10-year-old daughter Chianti. A fresh start. A mother working late shifts to make ends meet. Chanti was the kind of person you couldn't ignore when she walked into a room. Her mother, Rise Dixon, called her selfless. Her neighbors said she kept to herself, focused on her kids and her little dog. But on September 8, 2024, one decision changed everything. Tonight, we'll walk through every moment of that fatal ride, the confession that revealed a killer's twisted mind, and the digital evidence that brought him down. Have you ever felt unsafe in a rideshare? Tell me in the comments. Because what happened to Chanti could happen to anyone, Chanti Dixon had everything to live for. At 30 years old, she was raising two children on her own, 13-year-old Dashun and 10-year-old Chianti, named after her mother. They had just moved to a quiet street called Earhart Street in Indianapolis, a new beginning. Her neighbor Javona Hines remembered her well. Quote, "She just moved over here and seemed like a pretty good woman. She stayed to herself. She was with her kids and her little dog. She had a cute little dog." Chanti had been in the neighborhood less than a week, but the person who knew Chanti best was her mother, Rise Dixon. Their relationship was special. Rise would later tell reporters through tears, "She'd always be like, 'Ma, you my best friend,' and I'm like, 'Girl, yeah, I know, and you're my best friend.'"
I say, "Ma, you know you my best friend." And I'm like, "Girl, yeah, I know, and you my best friend."
Chanti was the oldest of her siblings, and everyone looked up to her. To support her family, Chanti worked late shifts, the kind of job that ended at 3:30 in the morning, the kind that required a ride home when public transportation wasn't running. Her cousin Eric Young remembered her dedication. She was a mother first. One thing about Chanti, she was a good person. Rise Dixon described her daughter as selfless, someone who would put herself in difficult situations just to help her friends, someone who made sure everyone around her felt loved. In 2024, rideshare apps became a lifeline for people like Chanti, workers finishing shifts at bars, restaurants, and clubs when the city sleeps. When you have no car and need to get home safely, you trust the algorithm. You trust the background checks. You trust the stranger with the right license plate. But that trust creates opportunity. For 29-year-old Francisco Valadez, driving for Uber meant access to people who needed him, people who were tired, sometimes intoxicated, always vulnerable, people who climbed into his car and told him exactly where they lived. Valadez lived in the 4400 block of Aristocrat Circle, near East 46th Street and North Mithofer Road. The BMW he drove was registered to a relative. To passengers, he was just another face behind the wheel, someone rated and reviewed by previous riders, someone the app said they could trust. Indianapolis dealt with rideshare incidents before. Assistant Chief Catherine Cummings would later say, "Women, girls, mothers have a right to exist in our community without fear of something heinous happening.
Right to walk, bike, order a ride share without fearing something bad will happen to them.
But on September 8th, that right would be taken away from Chanti Dixon. The night shift culture in Indianapolis was like any other city, workers depending on strangers to get home safely. Most rides end without incident, but some drivers see opportunity where passengers see safety. What safety measures do you take when using ride shares? Because on this night, all the precautions in the world wouldn't save Chanti Dixon from the man assigned to drive her home. At 3:34 a.m., the Uber app connected driver Francisco Valadez with passenger Chanti Dixon. She had no way of knowing this ride would be her last. September 8, 2024, 3:34 a.m. Chanti Dixon's shift was over. She opened her Uber app and requested a ride from the 2300 block of West 16th Street. The app assigned her driver, Francisco Valadez, in a BMW with Indiana plates. The route should have been simple: pick up Chanti, drive her home to Earhart Street. But according to Uber's data, there was one stop along Washington Street, then finally toward her home address where her children were sleeping. What happened inside that BMW would only be revealed when Valadez confessed to police. He later admitted he was a virgin. He told detectives he offered Chanti money to have sex with him. When she refused and laughed at him, his humiliation turned to rage. Even after his advances, Chanti still tipped him $5 through the app. $5 that became evidence of her final moments, evidence that she still trusted her driver enough to pay him extra. She had no idea what was about to happen. According to Valadez's confession to police, he shot Chanti Dixon once in the left side of her head while she was in the back seat of his car. A single gunshot that ended her life instantly, but his confession revealed something even more disturbing. After killing her, Valadez admitted to police that he dragged her body from his vehicle. He placed her behind a concrete barrier at the dead end of Wagner Lane. Then, according to his own words, he attempted to have sex with her corpse. Before leaving the scene, he threw her cell phones and wallet into the nearby woods, 2 phones that would later lead police directly to him. Sunday morning came and went. Chanti Dixon never walked through her front door. Her family knew immediately something was wrong. Chanti always came home to her children. Always. When calls to her phone went unanswered, her family used location tracking to find her. The digital trail led them to an area they hoped they'd never have to search. Monday, September 9th, 1 p.m., Indianapolis Metropolitan Police received a call about a body discovered in the 1800 block of Wagner Lane near East Raymond Street and South Sherman Drive. Officers responded to a wooded area behind a residential neighborhood. When officers arrived, they found 30-year-old Chanti Dixon. She was naked, lying face down with a sweatshirt pulled over her head and arms. The gunshot wound was visible on the left side of her head. 20 feet away, investigators found both of her cell phones in the woods, exactly where Valadez said he threw them. Her wallet was there too, physical evidence that would soon connect directly to her killer. The location was horrifying for another reason. Chanti's apartment was just a few feet away from where her body was discovered. She almost made it home. Her neighbor, Javona Hines, would later say, "Horrific. The girl just moved here. She hasn't been here for a week." The crime scene was near a school bus stop. Children walked past this area every day. Assistant Chief Catherine Cummings noted, "This occurred in a residential neighborhood with children getting off the bus nearby." How long would you wait before reporting a loved one missing? Because for Chanti's family, every hour that passed brought them closer to a truth no parent should ever face. The investigation was just beginning, but the digital footprint Chanti's killer left behind was about to make this case move faster than anyone expected. Francisco Valadez believed he had erased every trace of his crime. He threw away the evidence. He had a story ready for police. But there was one thing he couldn't destroy, one digital trail he never thought about. That mistake would put handcuffs on his wrists in less than 48 hours. What was it? The answer will shock you. That mistake would put handcuffs on his wrists in less than 48 hours. What was it? The answer will shock you. Tuesday, September 10th. Indianapolis detectives had a murder victim and a crime scene, but they also had something powerful: technology. Chanti Dixon's mother, Rise Dixon, provided police with the passcodes to both of her daughter's phones. Inside those phones was a complete digital record. At 3:34 a.m. on September 8th, Chanti had ordered an Uber from the 2300 block of West 16th Street. The app showed her driver's name, Francisco Valadez. The app showed his vehicle, a BMW with Indiana plates. The app even showed her $5 tip. Detectives traced the BMW's registration. The car belonged to a relative of 29-year-old Francisco Valadez. His address, 4400 block of Aristocrat Circle, near East 46th Street and North Mithofer Road. Back at Wagner Lane, forensic teams processed the scene where Chanti's body was found. The location itself told a story. Behind a concrete barrier at a dead end, hidden from the street, a place someone familiar with the area would know about. The 2 cell phones found in the woods 20 feet from her body, her wallet thrown in the same area, everything exactly where Valadez would later admit to throwing them. The killer had tried to destroy the evidence that would destroy him. Armed with the Uber data and vehicle registration, detectives drove to Aristocrat Circle. They were about to meet the man who killed Chanti Dixon. When detectives knocked on Francisco Valadez's door, he agreed to talk. His first story was simple. After dropping Chanti off at her home, an armed man approached the vehicle and shot her in the leg during a robbery attempt. But detectives knew something Valadez didn't know they knew. The crime scene evidence didn't match his story. Chanti wasn't shot in the leg, she was shot in the head, inside a vehicle, not outside during a robbery. Detectives brought Valadez to the homicide office for a formal interview. His second story changed the details. Now he claimed Chanti was shot in the leg, but somehow died from that wound. The lies were falling apart. What happened next in that interview room would crack the case wide open. Under pressure from experienced detectives, Valadez's false stories crumbled. The truth was about to emerge, and it was worse than anyone imagined. According to the probable cause affidavit filed in Marion Superior Court, Valadez finally confessed. He admitted he was a 29-year-old virgin. He told detectives he offered Chanti money to have sex with him in the back of his car. When Chanti refused and laughed at his body, his humiliation turned to homicidal rage. He pulled out a gun and shot her once in the left side of her head. But his confession revealed something even more disturbing. Valadez admitted to dragging Chanti's lifeless body from his BMW. He placed her behind the concrete barrier where she was found. Then he confessed to attempting to have sex with her corpse before throwing her phones and wallet into the woods. What do you think motivated investigators to keep pressing for the truth? Because their persistence exposed a killer whose crimes went beyond murder into territory that shocked even seasoned detectives. Francisco Valadez was arrested on preliminary charges of murder, but news of the arrest sent shockwaves through Indianapolis. Chanti's neighbor, Javona Hines, captured the community's horror. That shouldn't happen to anybody, regardless of whatever you're doing, whoever you are, wherever. That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Police Chief Chris Bailey addressed the media with visible anger. This is disgusting, disturbing, and no one deserves to be treated this way. The case had shaken hardened law enforcement officers. Monday, September 16th, 2024, the Marion County Prosecutor's Office filed formal charges against Francisco Valadez: murder in the first degree, attempted rape, abuse of a corpse, charges that reflected the full scope of his crimes against Chanti Dixon. Valadez appeared in Marion Superior Court for his initial hearing. Despite his detailed confession to police, he entered a plea of not guilty to all charges. The man who admitted to killing Chanti Dixon now claimed innocence in front of a judge. The judge ordered Valadez held without bond in Marion County Jail. No amount of money could guarantee the community's safety if he were released. The risk was too great, the crimes too severe. Outside the courthouse, Chanti's mother, Rise Dixon, spoke through tears about her daughter's legacy. She was so selfless, so selfless. She would put herself in tough situations just to help her friends out. A mother trying to find meaning in meaningless violence. The Indianapolis community rallied around Chanti's children, 13-year-old Dashun and 10-year-old Chianti. A GoFundMe page was established to support their future, strangers donating to children they'd never met, but whose mother's story touched their hearts. Uber released a corporate statement. Our hearts break for Ms. Dixon's family and loved ones. The details of this act of violence are atrocious, and we will assist Indianapolis police however we can as they continue to investigate. The company banned Valadez from their platform permanently. Legal experts noted the severity of the charges. Murder carries a potential life sentence in Indiana. Combined with attempted rape and abuse of a corpse, Valadez faced the possibility of dying in prison if convicted. Do you think the charges fit the severity of the crime? Because as this case moves toward trial, prosecutors will have to convince 12 jurors that Francisco Valadez deserves the maximum punishment under Indiana law. Today, 13-year-old Dashun and 10-year-old Chanti Dixon wake up in a world without their mother, the woman who worked late-night shifts to provide for them, the woman who moved them to Earhart Street for a fresh start, the woman who called her own mother her best friend. The Indianapolis community responded with both grief and determination. Neighborhood watch groups strengthened. Rideshare safety became a topic at city council meetings. Parents had conversations with their children about trusting strangers that they never thought they'd need to have. Rise Dixon chose to honor her daughter's memory with a message of love rather than hate. She told reporters, "If y'all want to remember her, y'all get a heart, and show the love, because that's what she would have wanted, and that's what she would have gave." Chanti's death highlighted the vulnerability of people who work when the city sleeps. Bartenders, dancers, restaurant workers, security guards, people who depend on strangers for safe transportation home because public transit stops running and taxis are expensive. Security experts recommend simple precautions that might save lives. Verify your driver's license plate and photo before getting in. Share your trip details with someone you trust. Sit behind the driver when possible. Trust your instincts if something feels wrong. But the harsh reality is that people like Chanti often have no choice. When you finish work at 3:30 a.m. and need to get home to your children, you take the ride that's available. The safety measures become secondary to survival. Chanti's death reminded Indianapolis that community vigilance matters. Neighbors looking out for neighbors, people checking on each other, simple human connections that might prevent the next tragedy. What changes would you want to see in rideshare safety protocols? Because the next Chanti Dixon might be depending on those improvements to make it home alive. Chanti Dixon was 30 years old when Francisco Valadez murdered her. She had dreams of watching her children graduate, dreams of growing old, dreams of being a grandmother someday. All of those dreams died in the back seat of a BMW on September 8, 2024. Thank you for listening to Chanti's story. If this case moved you, please subscribe to our channel and share this video. Your engagement helps us bring justice to victims whose stories deserve to be heard. Share your thoughts on rideshare safety in the comments below. Your ideas might help save someone else's life. And remember to check on your loved ones. You never know when that call might matter most. Tomorrow, we'll examine another case where technology played a crucial role in solving a crime. A case where digital evidence revealed a killer's identity faster than traditional detective work ever could. Until then, stay safe, and remember Chanti Dixon, a mother who deserved to make it home. Rest in peace, Chanti.